Welcome you to the Red Fox Pregame Show before the Red Foxes match up in Indiana against Butler. Alongside Mike Duda, Pat Sypher, I'm William Rosen. We'll hear from center field beat reporter Hayden Shapiro in just a little bit. Mike, Pat, pleasure to have you here. Mike, it's been Marist men's soccer who has been the #1 team on this campus, but Marist football aiming to compete for that #1 spot.
How about some history for the 2-1 Marist Red Foxes? This is the first time ever in program history that they have beaten 2 scholarship programs, and the first time since 2009 that they've had 2 non-league wins.
It's very interesting. This Red Fox team is 2-1 right now. Like you said, a lot of that outside of the league, all of it outside of the league. Now they're heading into some league plays. The stakes are a lot higher now. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here.
Including Marist at Wagner football last week. Marist taking on the Seahawks, looking for their 2nd win of the year against a scholarship program. Hey, how about Connor Holstein? His 3rd touchdown in just as many games. Foxes up 7-0, but on the ensuing drive, Jack Stevens for Wagner rolling out. How about an INT from Nate Robinson Jr.? He finished with 2 picks on the day, earning FCS Defensive Player of the Week. On to the 3rd, Marist up by just 4. Sonny Menino rolling out of the pocket and takes a bad hit. He would leave the game in a sling, leaving true freshman Will Odell to close this one out. In the 4th, it's Odell. He finds Carter James for the TD. Odell's first collegiate touchdown as Marist takes down the Seahawks at Staten Island 21-10.
Mike, you mentioned the injury to Sonny Menino. Pat, let's take a look at this injury report for the Marist Red Foxes.
Well, Mike, you mentioned that he left in a sling. But not only did he leave in a sling, his right shoulder is hurt. That's his throwing shoulder. That's a very big deal. Sonny Menino kind of has a cannon. And when he gets banged up like that and his shoulder doesn't quite have the juice on it that it used to, that's going to affect his ability to make some of those tight window throws. Now it's going to be interesting to see a quarterback that has taken so many hits throughout his career as a quarterback for this Red Foxes team. It's going to be super, super interesting to watch now because as a quarterback that has taken 47% of this team's rushes, 47% of their rushing yards, he's responsible for it. It's going to be interesting to see, will he be able to be that same great runner for them?
Yeah, Pat, we're not exactly sure who's going to be starting this one, Mike. Let's take a look. Who could be starting it and playing in this one for the Red Foxes?
Will it be the true freshman in Odell, who we heard of earlier? Well, if so, let's take a look at him. 22-yard scramble against Bucknell. He led the team as for Wagner against them with 58 rushing yards on 10 carries. He displays some good running abilities like Sonny Menino. And on the passing side, 4 for 4 against Bucknell, 24 yards, including a 13-yarder to Joey Bemis. But for Wagner, not as great. 2 of 5 when he came into the game for 40 yards. But both of those completions huge. A 39-yarder to Reed Shumpert. We'll hear about him later. And a 1-yard touchdown that we saw earlier to Carter James. He did fumble, however, on a 27-yard scramble, which shows some immaturity, a little bit of a difference between Menino. Menino, he's well-seasoned, a redshirt junior. He's been a wide receiver before. He knows how to take the hits. So if we see Odell in this game, especially with the Mike Willis philosophy, he's going to be running the ball a lot. You have to hold on to the ball if you're the true freshman.
You're incredibly right, Mike. You see every play Menino runs for those 20, 30-yard runs. He's putting his shoulder down. You mentioned well-seasoned. He's putting a little bit of salt on that finish. But there's a little bit of a difference right now with that Marist run scheme. What's the expectation for this Marist offense right now in the run game?
Well, whether it's Menino or Odell, the running game from the quarterback position is going to be a factor. That is a blatant fact. But along with that, we're going to see some of these running backs, Tristan Shannon being a main one here, who can kind of just take that small opening in the offensive line and make it into a huge chunk play. One of the most explosive players in the PFL right now. This Red Fox offense is averaging 179 rushing yards per game. That's 3rd in the PFL right now. No matter what the quarterback situation is, they're going to be able to lean on this rushing attack. Menino can run the ball effectively. Odell can run the ball effectively. They are going to factor that in. TJ Well is going to design some plays here to get that QB run game going. It's going to be great to watch this rushing attack continue to lift the heavy load here.
Yeah, you mentioned the run game. It's been predominantly the number one option right now, but you can't forget the pass game, and they're looking to a lot of new players. Right now, they're looking towards Connor Holstein, but they're also looking towards Reed Shumpert, a transfer. He made a few stops. He made stops at Cal Poly in Washington State. He had a team-high 8 catches for 83 yards versus Bucknell. He a little bit of a less game, a little bit less involved against Wagner down in Staten Island, but a versatile player who can come into these games and kind of become the wide receiver 1, or if not, wide receiver 2.
Well, let's talk about the tight end one. We mentioned him earlier in Connor Holstein. 3 touchdowns, like we said earlier, in just 3 games. He had that many in 26 with his days at Princeton. He's got 110 yards this year with the Foxes, already doubled his total from 2024, and just 1 shy of that Tiger total. Moreover, 17 targets here with the Red Foxes, averaging 5.6 per game. They're giving him looks, and he's catching the ball too. 10 receptions on those 17 targets, just 1 shy of his days at Mike Willis's alma mater in Princeton.
Yeah, Holstein getting up high in the clutch, shades of looking at his watch. It's Dame time because it's the FCS. Of course it's the FCS. Weber State faced off against Butler in classic FCS fashion.
The Wildcats hosted the Butler Bulldogs last week, and 2 minutes in, we see wide receiver Ethan Loss take a handoff into the end zone. Pasani rushed for 175 yards in that game, a great total for him. The next drive, Jackson Gilkey throws it up to A.J. J-Rowe, who makes an amazing grab as they meet for a 20-yard touchdown. Gilkey had 2 touchdowns along with 2 picks. That would be J-Rowe's only catch of the game. 3 minutes left. We're going to see Chauncey Sylvester run it in for a 3-yard rushing touchdown to extend the Wildcat lead as Weber State wins this one 38-24.
Well, Will, Pat, you mentioned that running the ball is important, but so is passing. And to do that, you need a weapon. How about Ethan Loss? 6 foot, 190 redshirt junior. He's athletic. He's going to make a man miss, like you'll see on your screen in just a second. You'll see him on some touch passes. He's physical. He's incorporated in the running packages as well. He's got a rushing TD on 53 yards as well, but on the receiving end, second in the PFL, 23 receptions. Third in the PFL with 280 receiving yards, 70 per game. That's 4th in the PFL. All that, and last year, he was tied for 2nd in both yards per catch and receiving touchdowns with 17.3 and 6 respectively. He is struggling of late, however, which will be interesting to note coming into this matchup against the Foxes. 4 catches for 68 yards in week 3, and against Weber State, just 3 for 25.
Pat, we mentioned the Marist quarterback uncertainties, but it's very, very similar on this Butler side.
Oh, absolutely. They have 3 guys who are kind of competing for that quarterback 1 spot. You have Regan Andrew, who looked like their best quarterback in those first 2 games. 68% completion rate, 342 yards, 5'7", 205 pounder. He's a guy who's short but very stocky, and he's probably their best pocket passer right now. But Jaron Alley is also a pocket passer. They put him in against Hanover, where he had a 74 completion percent and a decently productive 178 passing yards in that game. But he was really struggling in last week's game against Weber State, only completing 3 of 16 passes. And then you have the runner, Pacini. Only 51 passing yards on the year, but he's also the team's leading rusher with 260 yards on the ground. A great runner who's going to contribute even if he doesn't start. They're going to have special packages for the guy.
It's been a kind of a whirlwind right now if you're both quarterback rooms. What are you prepping for? You're not really sure what's going to be going on the injury section of who's going to be playing, but you know who knows his stuff. It's Hayden Shapiro. He'll take us through a little bit of the defense. Our Center Field beat reporter. Here we go, Hayden. What do you got? I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, so Marist special teams has been phenomenal this season, especially against New Haven where they won that game. But in this game, it's going to be about the defense. Marist has 7 picks throughout the year. That leads the Pioneer Football League versus Butler's 2. Butler has also given up 27 or more points in 3 out of their 4 games this year. If you're Marist and you can get first downs, you are going to win this football game, which they did not do against Bucknell despite having more first downs. But if they do that against Butler, they should be in good shape. And the defense, it starts with Nate Robinson Jr. He has 3 of Marist's 7 interceptions on the year, and they are calling him the Island here in Poughkeepsie. He was the Week 3 FCS National Defensive Player of the Week, the PFL Defensive Player of the Week, with 10 tackles, 4 of them being solo, 2 interceptions, and 0.5 tackles for loss. That's basically one. It was just combined with the teammate. As you get to see on your screen here, a couple of really nice highlights from Nate Robinson stepping in front of a route down the seam, and he is just a tremendous football player with tremendous instincts. Next, we're going to move on to Chase Hatton, and yes, he's a freshman even though he might not look like one. Leads Marist in tackles, plays all over. He could play in the box, he could play off the ball in the slot, and put him up top, why don't you? He's got good hands, really good instincts again, elite closing speed, and you can see right here, he can lay the boom on 3rd and short. He's a sure tackler, too. Next, we're going to touch on the D3 Susquehanna transfer, Garrett Carter. He leads Marist with 2.5 sacks, oftentimes abandoning his assignment to get to the quarterback, as you see right here against Wagner. He proves that power beats speed. He is one of those hard-nosed, thumpers type middle linebackers, and he's really, really strong and has the pursuit skills of a safety at the middle linebacker spot. If you look at Carter in a little bit of a deeper lens from that D3 transfer, he's facing higher competition, but it's not affecting his play whatsoever. Moving to the Butler side of things, Jackson Stratton is the guy to watch. He leads the Pioneer Football League in sacks, had 2 against Hanover, 1 against Truman State, and he's more of a speed rusher. As you can see the intensity he plays with on that play. More of a speed rusher, struggles against the run at sometimes, but when he is going after the quarterback, think Nolan Smith of the Eagles, ex-Georgia Bulldog. He's twitchy, undersized, but makes huge plays and does them at the right time. Will?
Yeah, Hayden, I want you to stay with us for a second here. How important is it for Marist to get on the right foot as conference play starts? How important is it they come in with a win this season, unlike last season? How do they start on the right foot?
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. You saw the momentum carry over when they beat New Haven in Week 1. Even though they didn't defeat Bucknell, that intensity, that grit that Marist showed in their opening matchup against New Haven did carry over against a very good Bucknell squad, and they kept it close. That's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, Hayden, you got to stay here. We're going to get to you in just a little moment to talk about our keys to the game. But Mike and Pat, what we've seen a little bit this season is different, right? The defense is on the forefront, but the offense is just working.
Oh, absolutely. You're spot on. The offense is working. I see a lot of stuff about this Red Fox team that makes me feel optimistic from the run game, with or without Menino. They're going to be able to run the ball effectively. But I also think a key thing in this game is going to be their ability to go ahead and throw the football. This Butler secondary is weak. I mean, they allowed 10 passing touchdowns so far this year. That's the vulnerable spot. That's the Achilles heel of this team. If you're the Red Foxes, you have to find a way to attack that no matter what's going on in your quarterback room. You have a guy like Shumpert. You have a guy like Holstein who's going to get his touchdown at some point in this game. That just tends to be what happens, right? They are going to find a way to go ahead and attack this. That's going to be the priority because they're weak in that area.
Mike, what's your key to the game?
For me, it's the secondary. I know Pat's talking about that Butler secondary and using that to your advantage. How about Marist uses their own secondary to their advantage like they have through the first 3 games? Butler's offensive line is elite. 3 sacks for just 12 yards over the 4 games that they've played this year. That's great. Marist, 7th in the PFL. Middle of the road in sacks, 8 for 58, but 7 interceptions. They are leading the PFL in INTs, and they have the best interception per game rate in all of FCS football with 2.3 per game, which is incredible. 5 picks against Wagner. We saw it through the highlights. For me, Nate Robinson Jr., who we talked about a lot, he is the key to this defense. Lead the secondary and go get some turnovers, force some deflected passes.
We bring back in Hayden Shapiro, our center field beat reporter for the football team. Hayden, what's your key to the game for Marist?
Yeah, my key to the game here is getting Jackson Connors McCarthy involved. You guys were both talking about the defense, but I want to flip it back to the offense because JCM was an AP All-American honorable mention. He was also the first team selection All-PFL at the tight end spot. Trick question because that is not all he can do. He played in the slot, he played out wide, and he played in the H-back spot. Here you see a pitch play. He reverses the field and goes back, picking up the first down and even more yardage. They got to get him involved and stay with Connor Holstein. Just feed the tight ends. Holstein's got a touchdown in every single game this year. You're going to see it here on a tricky jump pass, but that is what you have to do is feed the tight ends, and they've done it, and it's going to keep working.
I think Marist has to lean with their running. It's working so far. Tristan Shannon, Menino, Odell, it's all about the run. Well, we're excited to have you join us this week on the pregame show. For Mike Duda, Pat Sypher, Hayden Shapiro, I'm William Rosen. Marist goes to Butler for another game this week. Take care.